The rain in Boston was persistent, seeping through everything. I stood at the window on the 19th floor of Cascade Tech Solutions, watching droplets race down the glass. I'm Melody Hughes, 31, a data architect with 7 years of experience building systems that actually worked. Yet my employee file still labeled me junior-level staff, a title that ignored every late-night crisis solved and innovation delivered. That week, our flagship client Horizon Retail Group faced a 72-hour data sync disaster. Orders vanishing, inventory numbers broken, complaints flooding in. I spent 3 nights in the office, on vending machine coffee and stale granola bars, untangling legacy code buried with undocumented fixes. By Thursday, I'd mapped the failure points, written a full fix, tested it, and documented every step so clearly even an intern could follow. I handed my report to my supervisor, Gregory Lane, who barely glanced at it. He was rehearsing his executive presentation, practicing hand gestures like he was on stage. "Good work, Melody," he said without looking up. "I'll take this to the meeting." No acknowledgement. No thanks. No offer for me to present my own work. Just a dismissive wave. Back at my dimly lit cubicle, cornered behind a column, home to a dying succulent and an outdated calendar, Naomi Fletcher, my only real friend here, leaned over. "You look like someone stole your wallet," she said. "If you're new here and enjoying these powerful stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more. Let me know in the comments what part of today's story touched you most." They did. Gregory's presenting my solution as his. Again. She wasn't surprised. Of course he is. He takes credit, gets promoted. We do the work and get pizza parties. Last quarter, Naomi saved the company $2 million with a migration strategy. Her reward? A $50 gift card to a restaurant long closed. "I'm going to HR," I said. "Be careful," she warned. "HR protects the company, not you." But I was too tired to care. I met with Marcus Whitfield, head of HR, a polished man in an expensive suit, smile never reaching his eyes. I placed a folder on his desk. Projects led, problems solved, salary compared to market rates. "I've been here 7 years," I said. "I've exceeded expectations consistently. I deserve fair compensation and a proper title." He skimmed the first page, closed it. "We don't base decisions just on technical contributions. Leadership potential, cultural fit, visibility matter more. You need to be more present." The irony choked me. I was rarely invited to key meetings because I was too junior. When I spoke up, my ideas were ignored, until repeated by someone senior weeks later. "I've submitted multiple proposals this year," I said. "All implemented. None credited to me." "That's collaboration," he said. "Team success matters more than individual credit." "So my Horizon fix is team success too?" "I'm not aware of details. But yes, these things involve many contributors." Cold clarity washed over me. Marcus leaned forward. "We don't negotiate with junior staff. Put in your time. Be patient. Recognition will come. I've been here 7 years. And that's still early in your career. Keep doing good work." He stood, signaling the end. As I gathered my folder, I turned. "How long did it take Gregory to get promoted?" "I can't discuss that. He was promoted after 2 years. I've been here 7. The difference? He takes credit. I do the work." That's a serious accusation. The formal process changes nothing. The complainer gets pushed out. "Get out," Marcus snapped. "If you're unhappy, maybe this isn't the right fit." I left without a word. The door clicked shut, final, symbolic. The elevator ride back to the 19th floor felt longer than usual. I stood alone in the metal box, watching the numbers climb, feeling something fundamental shift inside me. Not rage, not despair. Something sharper and more focused. When I returned to my desk, Naomi was waiting with 2 cups of coffee from the good place down the street, not the office sludge. "That bad?" she asked, handing me one. "Worse. He told me to get out." "Jesus, Melody." I sat down, staring at my monitor without really seeing it. The Horizon Retail Crisis dashboard was still open, showing green status across all metrics. My fix was working perfectly. In Gregory's presentation to the executives, my name would not be mentioned once. "I'm done," I said quietly. Naomi set down her coffee. "Done with what?" "All of it. This company, this treatment, this entire charade where I pretend that hard work and competence matter when clearly they don't. You're quitting. I'm leaving. There's a difference. Over the next 3 days, I operated on a level of calm clarity I had never experienced. I stopped staying late. Stopped answering emails after 6. Stopped volunteering for urgent fixes. When Gregory asked me to look into a new client issue, I told him I was too busy with my assigned tasks. The look of confusion on his face was almost worth 7 years of frustration. During lunch on Friday, I opened LinkedIn on my personal phone. My profile had not been updated in 2 years. The headline still read, Data Architect at Cascade Tech Solutions, with a generic description that made my work sound pedestrian. I spent my lunch break rewriting everything. Not exaggerating, just accurately describing what I actually did. Designed scalable database architectures for enterprise clients. Resolved critical system failures under pressure. Implemented security protocols that prevented data breaches. Led cross-functional teams through complex technical challenges. By the end of the hour, my profile looked like it belonged to someone accomplished. Because it did. I did not apply to any jobs. I just made the profile public and went back to work. Monday morning, I had 17 new connection requests and 4 messages from recruiters. By Wednesday, that number had doubled. Companies I had only read about in tech journals were reaching out, asking if I was open to opportunities. One message stood out. It came from Eleanor Grant, Chief Technology Officer at Apex Digital Systems. The company specialized in enterprise data solutions, exactly my area of expertise. They were expanding their Boston office and looking for a senior architect to lead a new team. The salary range she mentioned casually in her first message was 45% higher than what I currently made. I scheduled a call for Thursday evening after work hours. Eleanor was direct, intelligent, and genuinely interested in my technical experience. We spent 90 minutes discussing architecture philosophies, problem-solving approaches, and the kind of systems I found most engaging to build. She never once asked how many years I had been in the industry or what my current title was. She cared about what I could do, not how long I had been doing it. We're interviewing several candidates, Eleanor said at the end of the call. But I'll be honest, Melody. Your approach to systematic problem-solving is exactly what we need. I'd like to bring you in for an on-site interview next week. I agreed immediately. The following Tuesday, I took a personal day. Cascade Tech's policy allowed 3 per year without manager approval. Gregory sent me a passive-aggressive Slack message asking if everything was all right, but I did not respond. Apex Digital's office was in a newer building downtown, all glass and steel with an interior design that actually looked like humans were meant to work there. The interview lasted 4 hours and included technical assessments, system design challenges, and conversations with potential team members. Everything felt different. People listened when I spoke. My ideas were challenged constructively, not dismissed. When I presented a solution to a hypothetical data migration problem, the senior developers asked detailed follow-up questions because they were genuinely interested, not trying to poke holes to establish dominance. At the end of the day, Eleanor walked me out personally. "We'll be in touch soon," she said. "But between us, I'm going to recommend we make you an offer." I appreciate that. Can I ask you something? Why are you leaving Cascade Tech? Your LinkedIn shows you've been there a while. I considered my answer carefully. Because I'm tired of being undervalued by people who couldn't do my job if their careers depended on it. Eleanor smiled, the kind of smile that suggested she understood exactly what I meant. I've been there. Different company, same story. That's why I make a point of hiring people who are good at what they do, regardless of whether they fit someone's narrow definition of what a senior person should look like. The offer came 3 days later. Senior data architect, leading a team of 6, salary 60% higher than my current pay, benefits that actually felt valuable, and most importantly, a manager who had a technical background and understood what the role required. I read the offer letter 4 times, not because I was deciding whether to accept, but because I wanted to savor the moment. 7 years of being told I was not good enough, and now someone was offering me not just recognition, but actual authority and compensation that matched my abilities. I accepted that evening and gave Cascade Tech my 2 weeks' notice the next morning. Submitting my resignation was simpler than I expected. The HR portal had a straightforward form. Select your reason for leaving, choose your last day, submit. I selected better opportunity elsewhere and set my end date exactly 14 days out. The confirmation email arrived instantly, cold and automated. No human had reviewed it yet. No one knew I was leaving. I wanted to keep it that way for a few hours, so I dove into work as if nothing had changed. There was something surreal about sitting at my desk, surrounded by projects and problems that would soon be someone else's responsibility, knowing I had already mentally moved on. Around 11, Gregory appeared beside my cubicle, tablet in hand, looking harried. "Melody, I need you to look at something urgent. The Horizon system is throwing errors again." I pulled up the monitoring dashboard. A few warning alerts, nothing critical. The kind of thing that would resolve itself in an hour or could be fixed with a simple cache clear. "Looks like a temporary spike in traffic," I said. "Should stabilize on its own. Can you monitor it? I have a meeting with the executive team about next quarter's roadmap." Of course he did. "Sure," I said simply. He left without thanking me, already reading something on his tablet. I watched the dashboard for 15 minutes, saw the metrics return to normal, and logged the incident with a note about the traffic pattern. Then I went back to documenting my current projects, something I had never bothered with before because I had always assumed I would be here to maintain them myself. Naomi came by around noon with sandwiches from the deli across the street. "You have that look," she said, settling into my guest chair. "What look?" "The look people get when they've made a decision they're not telling anyone about yet." I smiled despite myself. Naomi had always been perceptive. "I got an offer," I said quietly. "From Apex Digital." Her eyes widened. "Melody, that's incredible. When do you start?" 3 weeks. I submitted my resignation this morning. "Does anyone know?" "Just you and HR's automated system." Naomi leaned back, a complicated expression on her face. Pride, happiness, but also something that looked like loss. "I'm going to miss working with you," she said. "You're the only person here who actually cares about doing things right. Come with me." The words surprised both of us. "What?" "Apex is building out their team. They need experienced database administrators. I could introduce you to Eleanor, the CTO. No promises, but at least it's an option." Naomi stared at me for a long moment. "Are you serious?" "Completely. You're as undervalued here as I am. The difference is you've been here longer and you're too patient to leave." "I have bills, Melody. A mortgage. I can't just walk away." "I'm not asking you to walk away. I'm asking you to interview. See what else is out there. The worst that happens is you get an offer and decide to stay here. But at least you'd know what you're worth." She did not commit, but I could see the idea taking root. By 3 that afternoon, the automated HR system had processed my resignation and sent notifications to the relevant managers. Gregory appeared at my desk within minutes, looking genuinely shocked. "You're leaving." 2 weeks from Friday. "But we're in the middle of critical projects. The Horizon account alone." "We'll be fine," I interrupted. "I'm documenting everything. Any competent architect can take over." His face reddened slightly. "This is very sudden. Is there something wrong? Are you unhappy with your projects?" "I received a better offer." "What kind of offer? Maybe we can counter." I almost laughed. A week ago, when I came to HR asking for fair compensation and recognition, I was told the company did not negotiate with junior staff. Now that I was leaving, suddenly there was room for discussion. "It's not just about money, Gregory." "Then what is it about?" I looked at him directly. "Respect. Recognition. Being treated like my contributions matter. Things I haven't found here." He opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. "I've always valued your work, Melody. You've valued the results of my work. There's a difference." Before he could respond, Marcus Whitfield appeared in the corridor, striding toward us with purposeful steps. His expression was carefully neutral, but I could see tension in his jaw. "Melody, could you come with me, please?" Gregory looked between us, clearly wanting to continue the conversation but unwilling to challenge HR. I followed Marcus back to his 17th floor office, the same room where he had dismissed my concerns less than 2 weeks ago. He closed the door and gestured to the chair. This time I remained standing. "I received your resignation," he said, moving behind his desk but not sitting. "This is unexpected." "Is it? We had a productive conversation about your career development just recently." We had a conversation where you told me to get out of your office because I asked to be compensated fairly. Marcus's expression hardened. That's not how I remember it. I have excellent memory, Marcus. Regardless, I'm here to discuss your transition. 2 weeks isn't much time to transfer your knowledge and responsibilities. We'd like you to consider extending your notice period to at least 4 weeks. No. The word hung in the air between us. The standard professional courtesy. The standard professional courtesy would have been taking my concerns seriously when I raised them. Instead, you dismissed 7 years of contributions and told me to be patient. Now you want me to extend my notice as a courtesy? That's rich. You're burning bridges, Melody. I'm crossing them and setting them on fire so I can't be tempted to come back. Marcus sat down slowly, steepling his fingers. What would it take to get you to stay? We can discuss a title change, possibly a salary adjustment. There was the negotiation they claimed they did not do with junior staff, suddenly on the table now that it was too late. Nothing, I said simply. I've already accepted another position. Where? That's not relevant. If it's a competitor, there may be non-compete clause implications. I've read my contract, Marcus. There are no applicable restrictions for the role I'm accepting. And before you threaten legal action, I've already consulted with an employment attorney who confirmed that. His eyes narrowed. You've been planning this. I've been surviving. There's a difference. The meeting ended shortly after. Marcus made a few more attempts to extract information about where I was going and what I would be doing, but I deflected every question. By the time I left his office, I felt lighter than I had in years. My final 2 weeks at Cascade Tech passed in a strange blur. I documented every system I had built or maintained, wrote detailed guides for common issues, and organized my project files with obsessive precision. Not because I cared about making the transition smooth for them, but because I wanted to leave with my professional integrity intact. Gregory held a team meeting to announce my departure. He framed it as me pursuing new opportunities, and thanked me for my contributions to the team. Several colleagues looked surprised, a few looked envious, and 1 or 2 looked concerned about who would pick up my workload. After the meeting, 3 people approached me privately to ask about Apex Digital. Word had spread somehow, probably through the engineering gossip network that operated faster than official communications. I was honest with them. The culture seemed better, the compensation was fair, and they valued technical expertise over political maneuvering. 2 of them asked if I could pass along their information to the hiring team. Naomi submitted her application to Apex on my last Wednesday. She had spent a week updating her resume, preparing for technical interviews and quietly researching the company. When she told me, she looked nervous but determined. I'm 50-50 on whether this is brave or stupid, she said. It's both. That's how you know it's the right choice. My final day arrived with surprising anticlimax. No farewell party, no group card, no gathered colleagues wishing me well. Just a calendar reminder that my access would expire at 5 p.m. and I needed to return my badge and laptop to IT. I spent the morning doing final checks, sending last transition emails and closing out my accounts. At 3 I started packing my few personal items. The dying succulent, the outdated calendar, a mug someone had given me as a secret Santa gift 3 years ago. Gregory stopped by around 4. I hope there are no hard feelings, he said, leaning against the cubicle wall. I don't have feelings about this place anymore, Gregory. That requires emotional investment. For what it's worth, you were a solid contributor. I was more than solid. I was excellent. That's why Apex was willing to pay significantly more than you were. He flinched slightly. Did you really have to leave like this? You could have come to me directly instead of going to HR. I turned to face him fully. I did come to you, Gregory. Multiple times over the years. Every time I raised concerns about workload, compensation, or recognition, you told me to be patient. You used my work to advance your own career while keeping me in the background. So yes, I really had to leave like this. It was the only option that made sense. He started to respond, then seemed to think better of it. Good luck out there. I won't need luck. I have competence. At 4:45, I walked down to IT services on the 7th floor. A board technician checked my laptop for personal files, wiped it, and handed me a receipt. I surrendered my badge at the security desk, and just like that, 7 years ended with a stack of paperwork and a perfunctory nod from a security guard I had never spoken to. I walked out of Cascade Tech's lobby into a cold October evening. The rain had stopped, leaving the streets wet and reflective. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment, looking up at the building where I had spent so much of my life and felt absolutely nothing. My phone buzzed with a message from Naomi. They want me to come in for a final interview. I think I'm actually going to do this. I smiled and typed back, "You absolutely are." My first day at Apex Digital felt like stepping into a different universe. The office had actual natural light, ergonomic chairs that did not require a facilities request to adjust, and a break room stocked with food that people actually wanted to eat. Eleanor met me in the lobby personally, introducing me to the security team and walking me through the building. My workspace was not a cubicle but an actual office with a door, a desk large enough to spread out multiple monitors, and a window that overlooked the Boston Harbor. "We believe people do their best work when they're not crammed into depressing spaces," Eleanor explained. "Senior architects get offices. That's how we signal that we value what you do." The team I would be leading was already assembled in the conference room when we arrived. 6 people, ranging from recent graduates to experienced engineers, all looking curious and engaged rather than resentful or territorial. I introduced myself simply. My background, my approach to problem solving, and what I hoped we would accomplish together. Then I spent the rest of the morning listening to each of them talk about their current projects, their challenges, and what they thought the team needed. By lunch, I had pages of notes and a clear picture of the work ahead. It was ambitious, complex, and exactly the kind of challenge I had been craving. "How's your first day?" Eleanor asked, finding me in my office around 2. "It feels almost too good to be real," I admitted. "You'll find we have plenty of problems here too," she said. "Different problems but still frustrating in their own ways. The difference is that when you raise concerns, people actually listen and try to fix things instead of telling you to be patient. That alone is worth everything." Over the following weeks, I settled into a rhythm that felt sustainable rather than exhausting. Challenging projects without the constant sense of fighting against bureaucracy and politics. Direct communication instead of passive-aggressive Slack messages. Credit given where it was actually due. Naomi joined Apex 6 weeks after I started. Eleanor had been impressed with her technical expertise and her straightforward communication style. We went out for dinner her first week to celebrate. "I can't believe I almost didn't apply," she said, shaking her head. "I was so convinced that leaving would be irresponsible, that I owed something to Cascade Tech after all those years." "What changed your mind?" "You did. Watching you walk away without fear, seeing that you landed somewhere better, realizing that loyalty to a company that doesn't value you isn't loyalty, it's self-sabotage." "How are things going there?" "At Cascade." Naomi's expression turned grim. "Chaotic. After we both left, 3 more people quit within a month. The Horizon account is having problems again because no one fully understands the architecture you built. Gregory's been pulling 70-hour weeks trying to keep things stable." I felt a twinge of something, not quite sympathy but not satisfaction either. "Has anyone reached out to you?" "Marcus called twice. Wanted to know if I would consider coming back as a consultant. I told him my rate was 3 times my old salary and he stopped calling." We laughed, but it was complicated laughter. There was no real victory in watching a former employer struggle, just relief that we were no longer part of the chaos. 3 months into my position at Apex, Eleanor called me into her office for what she described as a strategic planning session. The company was pursuing a major contract with Horizon Retail Group, the same client I had spent years supporting at Cascade Tech. "They're looking to switch vendors," Eleanor explained. "Apparently their current provider has been having persistent issues, and they want to explore alternatives. Your name came up in preliminary discussions. They remember you from your previous work." The irony was perfect. "What would you need from me?" I asked. "Lead the technical proposal. Show them what we can build, how we'd migrate their systems, and why we're the better choice." I spent 2 weeks preparing. Not just reviewing what I knew about their infrastructure, but designing something genuinely better. More scalable, more secure, more maintainable. Everything I had wanted to build at Cascade but had never been given the authority or resources to implement. The presentation to Horizon's executive team happened on a Wednesday morning in their downtown headquarters. Eleanor and I presented together, with me handling all the technical details and Eleanor managing the business considerations. Halfway through my portion, their CTO interrupted with a question. This architecture looks sophisticated. How confident are you that your team can deliver it? Completely confident, I said. I've been building systems like this for nearly 8 years. The difference is that Apex gives me the resources and authority to do it right, rather than asking me to patch problems indefinitely. After the presentation, their CTO asked to speak with me privately. You used to work for our current vendor, didn't you? He said once we were alone. I did. Can I ask why you left? I considered how honest to be. I was consistently undervalued despite being their primary architect on your account. When I asked for appropriate recognition and compensation, I was told they don't negotiate with junior staff. So I found an employer who understands what I'm worth. He nodded slowly. That explains a lot. Their quality has noticeably declined since you left. We've been having issues that used to be resolved quickly that now take weeks to address. I'm not surprised. The person who took over my role doesn't have the institutional knowledge to maintain what I built, and the company's structure actively prevents effective knowledge transfer. Well, he said, extending his hand. I hope we'll be working together again soon. Under much better circumstances. Apex won the contract 3 weeks later. The deal was substantial enough that Eleanor announced it in a company-wide meeting, specifically crediting my proposal for clinching the decision. That meant Cascade Tech lost one of their largest accounts. I heard through mutual connections that Gregory had been put on a performance improvement plan and Marcus had faced serious questions from leadership about employee retention issues. I did not celebrate their misfortune, but I did not feel guilty either. They had created their own problems by treating people as replaceable rather than valuable. 6 months after joining Apex, I received an unexpected email. The sender was Gregory Lane, reaching out to my personal address rather than through company channels. The message was surprisingly humble. He acknowledged that he had taken credit for my work, admitted that he had not fully appreciated how much I contributed to the team's success, and apologized for not advocating for me when I needed support. I've learned a lot about leadership since you left, he wrote. Mostly by experiencing what happens when good people leave because they're not valued. I hope you're doing well in your new position. You deserve all the success you're finding. I read the email twice, sitting in my office overlooking the harbor, trying to decide how I felt about it. I replied to Gregory's apology with quiet professionalism. Thank you, we were both in a broken system, good luck. No anger. No forgiveness. Just indifference. Cascade was behind me. Naomi and I watched the fallout from afar. Turnover spiked. Signing bonuses couldn't mask the exodus. Word gets around, I said. Companies that treat talent like replaceable parts don't get to keep it. A year later, promoted to principal architect at Apex, I led a mentorship program for engineers stuck in the shadows, just like I had been. I taught them to document their work, track their value, and leave before they burned out. Then a message from a young analyst at Cascade. People talk about you. What should I do? I wrote back. Document everything. Update your LinkedIn. Never believe asking for what you're worth is unprofessional. If they don't invest in you after you've proven your value, leave. Life's too short to be undervalued. She replied instantly, thank you. That means more than you know. At a tech conference 18 months later, Marcus Whitfield found me. He looked older, weary. I was wrong, he said. We lost more than you when you left. I didn't gloat. Didn't forgive. I didn't leave to teach you a lesson. I left because staying would have killed me. He talked about changes. I wished him luck. I didn't build this, I said. I just stopped accepting less than I deserved. 2 years on, Cascade announced a cultural overhaul. I read it with a shrug. Then came Claire Winters, their new VP of Engineering. Your name keeps appearing in our legacy systems. We're trying to understand what we lost. Can we talk? I agreed, not to return but to speak truth. Because someone somewhere needs to hear it. Claire, the new VP of Engineering at Cascade Tech, reached out wanting to understand why I left and what the company had gotten wrong. I was honest. It wasn't one person but a culture that valued visibility over technical skill, where deep work went unrewarded and asking for fair pay was treated as ungrateful. She asked how she'd fix it. Stop judging people by tenure, I said. Promote those who keep systems running, not just those who give presentations. Create clear technical career paths, and when someone shows you their value, actually look. She took notes, thanked me sincerely, and admitted she couldn't undo the past, but hoped to prevent it from happening again. I never heard back, but over time word came through the grapevine. Cascade started making changes. Transparent promotions. Recognition for individual contributors. Better retention. Maybe temporary, maybe lasting, I didn't know. But at least someone was trying. 3 years after I left, I was invited to speak at a Women in Tech conference about workplace advocacy. I hesitated. It felt like dwelling on the negative. But Eleanor reminded me it could help others avoid my mistakes. On stage, I shared my story not as a triumph but as a warning. For 7 years I thought if I worked harder someone would notice. But companies that don't value you won't change no matter how much more you give. I explained the real turning point wasn't Marcus telling me to get out. It was realizing I deserved better. There's nothing arrogant, I said, about knowing your worth. In the Q&A, a young woman asked when to leave versus when to stay and fight. When you've shown your value, I answered, asked for change and been brushed off with be patient or be more visible. If your expertise only matters when it benefits someone else, that's not a culture you can fix from below. That's a sign to go. Another asked what to do if they couldn't afford to leave. Then prepare while you're still there, I said. Document your work, build your network, know your market value. Make leaving a plan, not a panic move. Hope isn't a strategy. Afterward, dozens approached me with their own stories. Same pattern everywhere. Talent buried under politics, credit stolen, growth blocked. I listened, advised, connected. By the end, I had 47 names and a sinking truth. This wasn't rare. It was routine. That night, I realized my silence had cost me years. Theirs didn't have to. 4 years after leaving, Apex promoted me to Director of Engineering Architecture. With influence now, I launched the Value Recognition Framework. A system to measure advancement by real contributions, not vague impressions. We automated data tracking, mandated clear feedback, and killed the "you need to be more visible" excuse. It worked. Engineers finally got the roadmap they deserved. Around the same time, an anonymous book arrived at my office. Surviving Cascade. Stories from the technical trenches. Page after page of shared pain. Overwork, erasure, broken promises. My name wasn't in it, but my story echoed in every line. I received an anonymous book titled Surviving Cascade, filled with stories from former colleagues echoing my own experiences of being undervalued. Moved, I posted on LinkedIn. If you're wondering whether your situation is normal, trust yourself. You deserve better. Don't wait 7 years like I did. The post went viral, flooded with messages from others in the same position. 5 years after leaving, Claire Winters, Cascade's new VP of Engineering, invited me to speak at their tech summit about what went wrong and how to fix it. After some hesitation and insisting on full editorial control, I agreed. Back in the same building, I delivered a candid keynote. I left because they wouldn't negotiate with junior staff, despite 7 years of critical work. This wasn't one bad manager. It was a system that rewards visibility over real contribution. I urged employees to stop believing they just need to be more patient. If you've shown your value and been dismissed, start creating options. Organizations rarely change fast enough. The room was silent, tense, many taking notes. In the Q&A, I was direct. Document your work, know your worth, and leave if nothing changes in 6 months. When asked if I'd return, I said, no. I've built something better. Or even, the chapter is closed. Afterward, dozens approached me privately. One young engineer asked, was leaving brave or just practical? I replied, both. By year 7 it was survival. Claire thanked me. That was hard to hear, she admitted. But it's what we needed. I hoped it would make a difference. 6 years after my departure, I was promoted to Vice President of Engineering at Apex. Eleanor, now CEO, called me in. Are you happy here? Not satisfied, happy? Yes, I said. Genuinely. Good, she replied. Because I'm planning my succession. Your name is coming up as a future CEO. I was stunned into silence.